welcome to the channel if you're new, or if you're not, I'm Alicia and I am stoked you're here either way. Today I've got a fun and crispy compilation video of veggie chips. Getting your veggies in has never been easier or tastier. I am sharing 8 delicious, simple veggie chip varieties that are perfect for healthy homemade snacking. Let's start with 2 classics and 2 of my personal favorites, homemade potato chips and sweet potato chips. I use a mandolin to thinly slice some russet potatoes along with some sweet potatoes too. Added color and nutrition. I add my thin disc to a baking tray with a baking rack on it, spray them down with cooking spray, and season with salt. Feel free to use any seasonings that you like. Into the oven they go, and I love that these don't need to be lathered with oil or fried. If you aren't using a baking rack, you may want to flip them halfway. You end up with a crispy, crunchy bite with sweet and savory options to boost the flavor and nutrition of the snack. A great fun snack that makes eating veggies easy and delicious. Are potatoes really a vegetable though? We'll go with it. Next up, root vegetable chips. Starchy root vegetables are a great option for homemade veggie chips because they crisp up beautifully. I start by thinly slicing my root vegetables, about 1/8 of an inch thick or thinner if you can, and I prefer to use a mandolin to make things even easier. You can use whichever root veggies you like to make your chips. I went with beets, turnips, and parsnips. Next, I add my thinly sliced root veggies to a bowl and toss them with a bit of coconut oil, salt, onion powder, garlic powder, and fresh rosemary. Toss well so every chip is nice and coated with oil and seasoning. Then I transfer to a wire baking rack on top of a baking sheet, making sure not to overlap any of the chips, and bake. A wire baking rack can make a huge difference in getting truly crispy chips, but if you don't have one, just flip your chips halfway through the baking time. Once they're finished baking, they'll crisp up even more as they cool. Next, I've got an easy crispy treat that you'll surely carrot about a lot. Baked carrot chips. Once again, I start by slicing my carrots nice and thin. Once again, I use a mandolin to make this easier. I toss those thin carrot slices onto a wire baking rack on top of a baking sheet, sprayed with cooking spray, and then season to taste with salt or any seasonings you'd like. For best results, flip those slices over, spray, and season again. Finally, bake until your carrot slices become dry and crisp. I recommend monitoring them while they're in the oven so that they don't burn, which can happen quickly with these. Don't be deceived by these tiny carrot crisps. They're mighty tasty and so fun to eat. The perfect homemade snack for noshing, packed lunches, or anytime you're craving a satisfying crispy crunch. Now can I get a kale yeah for baked kale chips? I'm trying. To start, add baby kale to a bowl and toss with light olive oil or avocado oil, massaging to soften the kale leaves and make the flavors less bitter. I add those massaged leaves to a wire rack on a baking sheet and season to taste with salt and pepper. All that's left to do is bake them in the oven until the leaves begin to crisp and brown. After baking, allow to cool and enjoy. A simple, crispy, nutritious snack that you can whip up anytime in just a couple of minutes. How about an unexpected veggie chip twist next? Zucchini chips? Using a mandolin, I carefully slice my zucchini into thin chips. I pat the slices dry with paper towels, do not skip that step, and then transfer to a wire baking rack on top of a lined baking sheet. Spray down those chips with cooking spray and season to taste with whatever seasonings you prefer. Pop them into the oven. These are gonna go at a lower temperature for a longer time until your chips have shrunk and crisped up. Since they'll shrink a good amount while baking, you may want to season them after baking too. You may think you're not a Brussels sprouts fan, but who can turn down a crispy chip? Start by peeling the leaves off of the Brussels sprouts and then add them to a bowl, drizzle with your favorite oil and salt, toss well to coat, and then transfer to a wire rack on a pan that's lined and sprayed. Bake until crispy. Now that is my kind of vegetable. It's light, crispy, salty, and so fun to eat. And I swear you won't even know it's a Brussels sprout. Last but not least, I've got another healthy homemade chip with fruit instead of veggies, plantain chips. Usually plantain chips are deep fried in oil, but I'm lightening things up by pan frying them instead. First, I cut unripe plantains into thin rounds. You want some green color on your plantains, not fully ripe plantains. I add those slices to a bowl and season with turmeric powder, chili powder, and salt, mixing well to coat, but remember, your favorite seasonings are fine. Then I heat a few tablespoons of coconut oil, as opposed to a few cups of it, in a pan and add the plantain slices. Cook for about 5 minutes on each side until golden, and then transfer to a paper towel. These are great for a quick snack and will store well for a few days in an airtight container. You can totally make baked banana chips as well, which I've done in the past, but baking doesn't give them the same crispy texture as pan frying does for these plantain chips. I hope you enjoy these healthy homemade vegetable and fruit chip recipes. You can find all of the recipes linked in the description, and leave a comment to let me know which one you're most excited to try. Thanks so much for being here. I'll be back next week with a brand new video, and remember, it's all a matter of mind over munch. Thanks so much for being here. And remember, it's all a matter of mind over munch.